let's talk about the big headliner in week one, the biggest headliner. I don't want to say the big headliner because there's other big headliners. We got 3 top 10 games in week one.
Mhm.
Number 1, Texas. Number 3, Ohio State. Ohio State's a 2.5-point favorite. Lord have mercy if Fox has not agreed to a deal with YouTube TV, and we are finding different unique ways to be able to watch this as a YouTube TV subscriber. Hopefully that is resolved.
Connor?
I had an antenna at different points living down here because I'm like, I'm not paying for cables like 220 something with internet. Like, what am I doing?
Nothing will make you feel more like a dad than just fuzzy Ohio State, Texas week
That's
one.
not what an antenna means. That's not what that means. If we are able to be having Gus Johnson on our TVs, which Lord willing, we will be able to listen to that by the time people are listening to this. Hopefully that'll be solved. But the over-under I have is 9 Gus Johnson references to Arch's famous elders, at least 9. He'll say it kind of ironically, but also in a tone that makes it seem like he knows something that the viewer doesn't, even though we've all known about this for 7 years, 8 years that Arch was going to be a thing.
Lord have mercy. Started to everyone. It's so hard to quote unquote feel bad for Texas, but I've actually kind of started to empathize or feel bad for Arch because it's like everyone wants to find a new way to talk about his family in kind of a cheeky way. And I'm not talking about Gus Johnson specifically, but I'm sure throughout the year you'll get, the other day, I saw his great uncle, or I was reading about this story about him playing kickball back in the day. And it's like the family tree has just gotten so expanded by everybody wanting to talk about it. It's like, can we just watch some ball here?
Yeah, but I get it.
Yeah. Like we get it. You got to do it. But it's like from his standpoint, I get why he just doesn't talk to anyone,
That first scramble that he has, Peyton and Eli couldn't do that. Emphasis on that. Meanwhile, Archie is like, buddy, that's all I did.
That's what I was going to say. That's the other minute. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you can make the case that it's the biggest opener in college football history. And it's not just Arch. These teams faced off in an awesome semifinal game last year. I think 3 of the top 4 returning players in the sport will be on the field with Jeremiah Smith, Caleb Downs, Anthony Hill Jr., depending on how you feel about Carnell Tate. Maybe you want to throw him in that group as well, but that's not even necessarily assuming Arch is going to be a top 3, top 4 guy, but there's just star power galore. Unlike the Alabama FSU opener in Atlanta to start 2017, which was the first Mercedes-Benz game, this top 3 matchup is on a college campus. It's Corso's last college game day, so you've got all this extremely unique pageantry going into it. I'm not even talking about the Dave Portnoy Ohio State band and all that stuff, which I'll be more interested in Corso's final college game day game personally. Mm-hmm. And then you added the Arch factor of this being his first career start on the road and his debut as Texas's QB1, because last year he got his first career starts, but he wasn't Texas's starter. It's just a different sort of feel to it. It just all adds up. It just all adds up. And I'm excited for it. I really am. I love that we've got Colin Simmons talking trash on Instagram, sharing the Julian Sayin announcement as Ohio State starting quarterback. And then if you saw the tweet from Travis Resick, apologies, Travis, if I just butchered your name, but Simmons basically doubled down on that by saying, I'm just glad they have a quarterback that I'm ready to sack. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe this is a sign of me getting older, but I can never get mad at these kids for stuff like that. It's just like, that's so cool. I think he's a great player. There's just so much to get excited about in this game, to your point. I mean, I think Ryan Williams would take a little bit of disrespect to the top, 3 or 4 players. But that being said, I think you're right. On both sides of the ball, both of these rosters are loaded. Yeah.
I think Ryan Williams no, I don't. That's going to come across too negative. And I love Ryan Williams, so I'm not going to bring up the stat that I was going to post Georgia and about his receiving yards and the numbers that he didn't hit after the game. I'm not going to bring that up. The thing that's being overlooked in this game, though, Will, Julian Sayin is very decorated in his own right. Classmates actually with Colin Simmons, both 5-star guys in that 24 class. Mm-hmm. But he's getting his first career start against the Texas defense that is loaded to the gills with proven commodities, just loaded. And it helps that you've got Jeremiah Smith, best player in college football, Carnell Tate. That's great. You've also got a first-time play caller in Brian Hartline. You've got new tackles. You've got a very new look backfield as well. Will's laughing. What are you laughing at, Will?
Brian Hartline. Again, we're so old, bro. He's done such a great job as a receivers coach. I'm actually kind of more scared of him than some of the other situations they've had going on. But man, he's going to be so nasty. I'm so scared of him.
I don't know. Is he going to be great as a play caller? I don't know.
I think he's one of those guys, and we just saw the opposite of this with Luke Fickell, so who knows, right? But I think he's one of those guys that he's actually like kind of gone the right way and like kind of stayed in the background. He's been a great recruiter, and so it's like if he's committed to the brand, he could just stay there forever, like Kirby. It scares me if he's good.
True, very true. But there will be a lot of new for Julian Sayin, and we just kind of assume that Ohio State quarterbacks are up for the task because when was the last time that they weren't? It's been a minute, so put in another 5-star. Assume it's going to work out, and
Michigan probably.
You're talking specific games. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I was talking more so like whole seasons and who the player becomes. But we assume Ohio State is going to have Julian Sayin getting rid of the ball very, very quickly, and maybe going with some tempo to prevent that Texas defense from being able to pin its ears back. A lot of Colin Simmons coming in and out of the lineup and stuff like that, so he's not able to just sit there and tee off on a young quarterback making long progressions. Last year in the Cotton Bowl, our guy, Pete Kwiatkowski, he said, we are not going to let Jeremiah Smith beat us. We are going to bracket that guy. Somebody else will beat us. He had 1 catch for 3 yards. Mission accomplished, except for the fact that they didn't win the game. Carnell Tate became the guy who more or less had a big say in beating Texas. I think he's, again, the key to this game, as well as Texas maybe not allowing a 75-yard screen pass to a running back for a touchdown at the end of the first half. That would be an area that they'd want to correct.
I could do it. Yeah.
Kind of a backbreaker. I will be stunned and also really impressed if this game turns into a shootout. I think that's the most unlikely outcome. I'm a little surprised that the over-under is even 47.5. And I think that's just because you've got a lot of star power on offense, really on both sides of the ball. But I think there is a really tough path to see this game being decided in the 30s or something like that, or even in the high 20s. It's not a crazy number, but I just think this could be a struggle for both offenses with what they're facing on defense. I don't expect Arch to be perfectly crisp. I don't expect this game to have Feinbaum coming on every single platform on ESPN on Monday saying, see, I told you this guy is as good as Tim Tebow and as decorated as anybody that we've ever seen in this sport, and this is why. I don't expect that to play out. A lot of questions that Texas has up front with this new look offensive line. And I wonder if some hesitancy is evident with Arch, a game in which left tackle Trevor Gooseby, a guy that I'm really, really high on, he's going to be working through a hand injury. What does it look like for him in this first game starting on the road? You're going to have protections that Arch is going to have to be figuring out in a very raucous atmosphere. I think it's a rough start for the Arch hype train. I think Ohio State wins this one 24-14.
Man, what an all-time How Do You Like Me Now season out of Ryan Day. And I'm laughing so hard because obviously, like last season, they hired Chip Kelly and we're like, you bozo, you simpleton, this will never work. And now they've come back with Brian Hartline and Matt Patricia. And boy, howdy, was winning that championship just going to change the course of college football history? Because now you can't tell Ryan Day anything. We used to just be able to poke fun at Ryan Day and be like, wow, you're such a goober, you do all this stuff. But no, this might actually kind of work now that you could lose a couple of games and still win a championship. I am so fascinated to see the redness of the faces on the sidelines between Ryan Day and Matt Patricia.
Press box will be up there with the pencil, and I think he and Hartline are both going to be in the press box for this one.
Yeah, it's so funny because like obviously the Jim Knowles thing happens, and it's like I had to do a little blast from the past to go, who do they have? Matt Patricia's about I said to myself, it doesn't matter who this name is. I'm going to agree with you just based on the talent and the pedigree. And this is one of the only names that could have made me consider that, Matt Patricia. But that being said, I'm still with you. I think it's a week one field out game between 2 top 3 teams. These games do not turn into these big like bleep shows because you have so much pageantry going into it. Guys just start off tight. They're college kids. It kind of is like the Super Bowl in that way, where it's like, okay, like first couple of drives really matter, but you got to get loose as quickly as you can. And I think this being, like you said, on a college campus matters a ton. But yeah, that being said, I would see, I mean, what would you consider, like, what do you consider, not for this game specifically, but what would be a modern definition of a low scoring game?
Low 20s, over under of the under hitting a game with a total score in the 30s would be a low scoring game for sure.
Yeah. I could have said that in a cleaner way, but
Yeah, you get what I'm saying.
For sure. Yeah, I think this could get into like the high 20s on each side just because there's so much talent, busted play here or there. But I'm with you. I don't think it's going to be a track meet. And I think that just based on where these two teams are, man, this would be an all-time Ryan Day fall in his face, wouldn't it? I'm going to still pick Ohio State, but it would be so funny.
Country. I mean,
it would be so funny if they lost. But I just, with the new pieces for Texas, we talked about, they did bring a lot more guys back than people kind of realize just because they lost all that talent. But starting off with the momentum, yeah, I like Ohio State here.
If Matt Patricia ruins Caleb Downs, the amount of vitriol, not just Ohio State fans, but college football fans that want to see the best version of Caleb Downs, because this is the last chance that we get to watch a really special defensive player in our sport. But there will be so many people that just rip Matt Patricia. And that storyline would be interesting. I would still rather see the best version of Caleb Downs just because it's just fun to watch that guy go and the instincts that he has. And they could very much be on display in a game like this. I would expect them to, given what they're going to ask him to do with so many new pieces surrounding him on that Ohio State defense. But it is going to be bizarre every single time we look up after maybe an Ohio State sack and it's Matt Patricia just with a pencil in his ear shouting something, or I don't know. I'm going to need those booth shots of Matt Patricia as much as possible. Is he clean shaven now? I want to see he's clean shaven now.
Oh,
I could be wrong on that.
I can't. Yeah. Okay. You know what, man? Why am I'm not putting the house on the line here. I'm going to pick Texas here. I just can't. I was so wrong about Ohio State last year, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, okay, but think about PK, think about Steve Sarkisian versus Matt Patricia. Like, if you pick Steve Sarkisian versus Matt Patricia and you're wrong, fine. So never mind. I'm going to pick Texas because at the end of the day, Sark is the best play caller maybe in football. And I just think something has to be true here. Matt Patricia can't just become a smart enough defense. I know they're co-defensive coordinators, whatever. That's even more of an issue when you have the amount of motion and different looks and different like plays that look the same with window dressing that end up being different plays under Sark's system. So actually, I like Texas the more I think about it.
Something to keep in mind, and I've been incorrectly saying this throughout the offseason, so apologies. I've been saying throughout the offseason we've never seen a team lose in week one and still make the college football playoff. Clemson did that last year. Clemson did that only by virtue of Miami puking on its shoes against Syracuse and then backing their way into the ACC championship and then getting the ACC automatic bid. Clemson would not have gotten an at-large bid. So we have not seen an at-large team get into the field after losing in week one. Now, there are 3 top 10 games, 3 matchups of top 10 teams in week one. So we assume that will change this year. That will be kind of the takeaway. And like nobody's going to be bailing on one of these teams. Maybe if it's like a 35-7 type game, maybe you could see people going like, see, they're not built for the long haul. But I do think that getting to 10 wins for both of these teams is still going to be really difficult if you lose this game. And that's kind of the mark that we're talking about. And we saw last year. I mean, there were multiple 10-2 teams, Miami, BYU, that were left out and not part of that conversation, even though we just assume, well, yeah, losses, what do they really matter in this day and age? There's going to be grace, the new record strength metric. We'll see how much that matters. Okay. We'll see how much that matters when push actually comes time to shove and these decisions are made. So that will be the silver lining for whoever loses this game. Whoever loses this game, if it's a close game, they're not going to like fall off the face of the earth and be like, oh, they're number 15 in the country. But just something to keep in the back of your mind is just it's not a given that if you lose week one, that you're just going to rattle off 10 wins in your next 11 games and just have this perfectly clear path to the playoff. Just something to consider.
Good to remind me that before week one. I had followed the Hopium the last couple of years. I will say I want to just close the loop on this. I'm looking at Matt Patricia right now, and he has the kind of dopiest husband beard I've ever seen. He looks like he's at a brewery in this official photo.
When was the photo taken though? How recent is this photo?
I'm looking at like stuff at the Ohio State facility, like he's at the practice field, so it had to be decently recent. Maybe you shaved this week, I don't know, but this guy looks like Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny. I thought that I thought that he would be more respectable without the fluff, but bring the fluff back. I can't root for this guy. Everything within me is telling me to pick Texas. Maybe I'll be wrong again. That's fine. No one can fault me for picking against Tennessee after watching that Michigan game last year, but I just can't bet on this version of Matt Patricia. At least the other one looked like he was going to beat me up if I messed up his overly complicated defense. Now it's like, What are you gonna do? File a blog post on me? Anyway,
fair. Matt Patricia's beard does him no favors. If Ohio State struggles defensively this year, that beard is coming off. Rest assured, it will be.